Hello and welcome to Play Pause Turn. In this podcast, we discuss all things to do with TV, films, games and literature. We give our thoughts on the media we've been enjoying, old or new, and comment on anything topical. I'm John, hello, and joining me today are Alex, Amy and Bobby. And we are going to have our usual intro question. I hope you've all been thinking about this. We've been thinking about all the stuff we've been doing over the summer. By the time you hear this, we're probably all back at work and the weather's taken a bit of a turn for the worse, especially in the UK. And so we're just going to have a kind of a chat about what we've been up to and the nice things that we bought ourselves and the films that we've seen. But to do with that, we're going to just have a little think about one new feature about ourselves that we'd like to have. Now, this is not a superhero question, so you can't say X-ray vision or angel wings or anything else like that. What one? I know you're all perfect. I know that. But if you could have one feature you could add to yourselves, what would that be? Alex?
Oh, right. Good question. Yes, so for me, I would say I'm vertically challenged as a bloke. Doesn't mean I'm really short, but I'm like Tom Cruise short. But the thing is, I don't have his pay packet. So it'd be quite nice to be a little bit taller. Not massively taller. I'm not trying to get to the sort of Bobby standards. I'm just trying to get a little bit taller than I am now. Maybe sort of 5'9", 5'10" would be an acceptable level for a bloke.
Could you get Amy to buy you some platform shoes?
I could get some platform shoes, maybe in a cowboy hat, that just to kind of give myself a bit more height. But no, I have this horror picture of my dad in the probably 80s with platform shoes and a cowboy hat, and it didn't really work for him, so I figured it's probably not going to work for me.
I think you need to ask Roberto about that, really. Are platform shoes and cowboy hats back in now, Roberto?
No, John. Absolutely not.
There you go. You've heard it here first, folks. Amy, what would you like to change about yourself?
I think I'd probably change my feet. So, little known fact about me is my left foot is slightly deformed. So I have famously 9.5 toes, because one of my toes is only half length and sits above all the other toes, like it's slightly better than the rest of them. And then on both feet I have something called a Haglund's deformity or Haglund's bump, which means at the very back of my foot there's a little bump that sticks out. So where most shoes naturally will curve in, that point where they curve in, my foot wants to go out. So my feet don't really get on with shoes very well. And it would be so nice to be able to just blissfully buy a pair of shoes and know that they're going to fit and they're going to be comfy. Whereas this is my reason. This is why I say I have so many pairs of shoes, because it's trial and error. It's definitely because of that, not because I like shoes.
Okay, but yeah. Do you wear a lot of open-toed sandals then? Sort of back?
No, well, front's fine, it's the back.
Right.
But then if I wear open back shoes, I struggle to keep the shoes on because they keep slipping off. So yeah, it's a lose-lose situation for me in shoes. So I just keep buying more and seeing if they work.
Okay, well, that's an interesting one. Also, all the best for your feet. I hope it all goes well for you.
Thank you very much.
Bobby, how about you?
I'd really like to be a bit stronger with my left arm. So I would really like a metal arm that works like someone from... But you said it's not a superhero thing, but I don't mean it as a superhero thing. I just want a strong left arm, and I was just thinking that Bucky's arm would come in handy. But if I'm not allowed to say that, and you're going to edit this out because I've got the answer to the question wrong, then I'd just quite like to have my hair back, please, and not take it for granted like I did when I was younger.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the hair thing there. Okay. Is there any other reason why you want a strong wrist, Bobby, at all?
I didn't say wrist, I said arm. Why do you always go there?
Okay.
Such a perv.
I would like to be able to get up early in the mornings. I'm not a morning person. The only thing that gets me out of bed is coffee. So I'd like to have a built-in coffee gland in my body that just distributes caffeine when I need it, without it damaging my body, because caffeine isn't very good for you, is it? So there we go. That's quite a bunch. We are. What an interesting bunch we are there with all our weird needs.
John, that would then become your your sort of Achilles heel or your kryptonite, wouldn't it? Because then,
Why is that?
like, well, you could have a secret coffee gland so that you get
Yeah.
over your morning problem. But then
Yeah.
if your nemesis finds out about this secret caffeine gland, then obviously your nemesis' whole mission in life changes to basically trying to damage the caffeine gland so that caffeine leaks into your system and then you die. And then your nemesis
Right.
wins.
Okay, who's my nemesis, Bobby?
I don't know.
This
At the moment.
Captain Sleep guy.
It's a secret identity.
Okay.
Someone in the current Tory cabinet, the education minister, maybe?
Okay, yeah, that makes
Because you're
sense.
a teacher.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Yeah, again.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving swiftly on, we're going to start off talking about a film we've all seen. I think, Bobby, you've most recently seen it, so probably freshest in your mind, and that's Free Guy. I took the plunge on the screen unseen, so I didn't know what I was watching when I went to see the film at the cinema. That's part of the Odeon Limitless thing, where you can go and just see a film which they don't tell you what it is. It's quite good fun. And we were all very happy when there's a big cheer when Free Guy came on. I think a lot of people were hoping it was Free Guy. So we're going to talk about Free Guy. It's a film that came out this year. It's done quite well. Maybe Alex later on will find out about takings and so on. But it's played by Ryan Reynolds, plays this guy, a bank teller, in a video game, and he discovers that he's actually an NPC inside a brutal open world video game. That is the synopsis. Now, we will start off by giving our thoughts without any spoilers, but we will then move into spoiler territory. So if you have seen it, if you haven't seen it, then do fast forward a bit. Maybe we'll put a little timestamp in the show notes. But we are going to talk about other things as well. But let's start off with Free Guy. So, Alex, what were your thoughts on Free Guy?
So I'm always a bit sceptical with movies that say they're going to do gaming. And I think anything adapted from games is what I'm always a bit suspicious of. There was Resident Evil, which was an interesting one, and then there was the movie adaptation of Ready Player One, which was kind of mixed. It's enjoyable, but it's really hard to take something that's in your head and turn it into something that's compelling on the screen. And I think gaming is a similar. It's really hard to take someone playing a game and just turn it into a compelling story. So I found it really interesting. I actually think they did a pretty good job for most of it. So I think it was really enjoyable. It was suitably light, which was important. We don't want a heavy film when it's talking about something like this. It's got to be light and enjoyable. And the acting was actually surprisingly good, considering that you're talking about Ryan Reynolds playing a generally pretty straightforward role. It's not particularly challenging for him. But Judy Coleman was really good. So I really liked her in it as well.
How about you, Amy?
I really enjoyed it.
Did you go and see it with Alex, I presume?
I went to see it with Alex and also with our daughter, who is 10 years old. So we are very excited that we're now at a point with our daughter where we can start bringing her to 12A films.
Right.
Selected, of course. And we kind of do a bit of a preamble beforehand of all them. There are probably going to be some swears and, things are a little bit... But she's fine with it and we're fine with it. And so were all the other parents that had clearly brought their children to see Free Guy. There are a couple of moments where a lot of the adults, you can hear them go, oh, like that when they realise something has occurred that maybe they perhaps weren't ready for their child to be privy to, but it was still quite funny because I think we were united in the sense of, oh dear, oops.
Sharp intake of breath when certain things happen.
Yes, absolutely. Much like the very, very end of what's the name of the TV series that's based on kid versions of Robin and everybody?
Teen Titans.
The end of the Teen Titans movie. That was a big inhale as well, if anyone remembers that. So, but no, it's very enjoyable. Really enjoyed it. Didn't fall asleep, and as you know, that's quite an important deal. Really good. That's my non-spoilery review. Basically, say really good several times.
I'm going to ask Bobby his thoughts. I'm just going to let people know, if you are a parent and you do take your child to see Free Guy, it is a giant-sized video game type violence-themed film with guns shooting, explosions, car chases, crashes, fighting and falling. The main character has a broken nose with some blood shown. Male and female characters kiss, and a blonde bombshell NPC is shown off for her sex appeal, along with some sexual innuendo and sex-related dialogue. Language
I think the main thing for us was the
F word,
yeah.
the mother effer word, the word that rhymes with spit, the word that rhymes with lass, and there's a goddamn here and there as well. There's also some rather jokey references to Disney-owned brands. There you go. So I've got all this information from Common Sense Media, which is a great website parents could go to check the content of films. Having watched it, I wouldn't be too concerned about my 12-year-old daughter watching it either. Bobby, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely loved it. We saw it on Saturday evening, and yeah, I just absolutely love this film, and it's going to be very difficult for me to talk about it without giving anything away. So I'm now just going to shut up. But it was a 10 out of 10 for me, and I can't wait to own it, and I can't wait to see it again.
I was just going to ask you that, because a good indication of how much you enjoy the film is, would you buy it afterwards? So
yeah, I mean, I was saying to Carolina when we came out of the cinema, I was like, I can't wait to be able to buy that movie and watch it again and again and again and again.
And hopefully there'll be some Ryan Reynolds sort of extras, funny stuff that he does in the background as well.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, we will move on. We will move on to more chatting about it. I really enjoyed it. I think I went in with the expectation it was going to be a sort of a light, breezy, popcorn, silly movie. The trailers were pretty indicative of that, and I'm a big fan of Jodie Comer as well. And it's interesting seeing her in more films now. I saw a trailer for another film with her in it as well recently. She's doing well for herself. Okay, so let's pick this apart a little bit, because I enjoyed the film, but there are a couple of things I had issues with. I'm sure, although Bobby gave it a 10 out of 10, I would give it a little bit less than that for certain facts, certain reasons. Alex, any thoughts on the actual film itself? Going to spoiler territory now.
Yes. So, the role of Ryan Reynolds was okay, but I think one of the challenges is moving him from the NPC to become a thing. And I actually think they did that really quite well. And the irony is that then when you think of the villain, Taika Waititi, his sort of character was so two-dimensional. It was really funny and good to watch, but there wasn't depth to it. It was, so I didn't feel like, threatened by his kind of, oh no, I'm going to do this now, and oh, you thwarted me, and this kind of stuff. It didn't compel me to think, oh, actually the stakes are pretty high. The only thing that I actually thought was, oh good, the stakes are pretty high because of those things that are happening, not because of anything he said. It was really enjoyable to watch, but it just didn't, as a villain, I think he was going to be a sort of, I'd say Disney or a villain where there's no depth to it. I think he could have done better.
I like the way you twirled your moustache. It's a villain there. People couldn't see that, but Alex actually twirled his moustache. It's a villain. Bobby, you have something to say.
I'm sorry, but I was on the edge of my seat when he was and really squeamish and worried about what was going to happen to all the NPC characters when he was chopping away at all the servers. Yeah. The stakes were pretty high. I don't think he needed to be an in-depth character, because his character was what it needed to be. It moved the storyline along. It gave us a villain and someone to kind of hate. He was brilliant, by the way. I love it whenever Taika Waititi gets a chance to act, because he's just hilarious. He's the kind of guy I'd love to hang around with. Also, because he always wears suits in his spare time. But yeah, I mean, I felt the stakes were pretty damn high. I think the heart was allocated in the right proportion, because it was with the two main characters, with with Guy and with Jodie Comer's character, whose name I can't remember because I just
Millie.
can't take my eyes off that woman. Yeah, that's it. Whatever.
Millie.
She's
Yeah,
amazing.
she's called Millie.
Yeah. Gotta see. I'm blushing now. You can't see because I'm very dark brown, but I am blushing now. My wife also worked out that I fancy her while we were sat in the cinema, and I got a karate chop to the throat.
Is she on your list, Bobby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Natalie Portman.
Oh, well, I mean, we're going to move on to see what Amy thought, but what I found really interesting, what Alex was saying, was it sounds like Guy is more of a three-dimensional, believable character than Taika Waititi, who it's almost like a reversal of the roles, where Taika his character, what was his name? He was called Antoine. Antoine. They try to find the most sort of silly, stupid head of a startup tech company name.
Walking in with like pumps
he seemed
and everything.
more like a video game character, like an over the top villain in that respect. I don't think, and I think I'm with Bobby here. I don't think this is a film where you're going to get a deep emotional hook with the villain, unlike Killmonger or the Marvel films. I think as Bobby was saying, it doesn't really matter that we didn't see deep into Antoine's motivations. I think he was meant to be a token protagonist. A token antagonist. And I think from what I hear, it was Taika's way of just having a bit of a relaxing act and have a bit of fun rather than directing or producing. So yeah, I think he just went for the fun of it really and being a villain. We will get to you, Bobby, but I just want to hear Amy's thoughts as well.
I really enjoyed it, obviously from the point of view of getting into computer games and turning it on its head a little bit. What would an NPC really think if all these things were going on day to day? Would they get bored? Would they be fine with it? But also in the real world, it's the will she, won't she, will he, won't he romance that buds between the characters of Millie and Keys as well. I think we're allowed to give spoilers now. So at the very end, what I really, really appreciated, and it's a silly little thing, is that they get together, but you don't see it, if that makes sense. They cut off just at the very second that magic ignites. And I quite like that little bit of a hang, because it kind of means, yes, that was an undercurrent story, but it wasn't the main thing. So they're not going to make that the resolution. The resolution is to do with the computer game.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that we were attached to the characters in the game. I like the fact that it was making a point. It was making an observation of how people play video games and how they go in there for death and destruction. And Free Guy, the character Guy, was trying to level up by doing nice things. Sadly, I don't think that would ever wash in the real world. That's just not the way we are, unfortunately, people. I had real problems with the romance at the end. Now,
okay.
I appreciate that essentially Keys who's played by
Joe Carey.
Joe Carey, thank you. I appreciate that he was putting himself into the character. And so the main conceit and the main story arc in this film is that Millie and Keys, who were kind of founders of this AI program, which was based around this kind of utopia game level, a bit like SimCity but for paradise. And they managed to amazingly create a self-aware AI before Antoine kind of absorbs it into his game and uses that without realizing. And so I can see how Keys was putting his own love for Millie into the character. And so essentially, whenever Guy was romancing Millie in the game, it was actually really Keys. Well, I found it really a bit jarring that right at the end, she suddenly goes, "Oh, that wasn't Guy. It was Keys, just remotely. Oh yeah, let's go for it." I felt that I just felt that there wasn't enough development in their relationship in the film. And that's because most of the film was set in the game, and I think that will please viewers because we came to watch the video game, didn't we, and how it all worked and all the silly sort of tropes and things going on. And I really enjoyed that. But I just felt that relationship at the end was kind of forced a little bit. What do you think, Alec? What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally. I think you're right. I think with a bit more backstory and a bit more seeing the two working together, and because we saw glimpses of that there were scenes where they started, but it was as if they were kind of we joined them at a point where they almost were like a divorced couple who had custody of an old game studio or something that they tried to make, a game that they used to make. And I think the challenge is we kind of, if we'd have seen a little bit before that, then we might have actually kind of been a bit more endeared to his role, because it looked like he was a bit of a sellout, and she was the idealist who felt that she'd been wronged. And I think that was the thing. It's hard to relate to them being good together when we haven't seen that them gelling in that way.
Well, it's missing what the film writers call the meet cute, where there's this sort of there's a situation where they meet up and you can tell these two characters are going to fall in love or going to have a relationship. You see it in all the films. The meet cute is how they bump into each other. You see them in things like Enchanted and things like that. So I felt like there was a few gaps there. I mean, I'll say it again, I really enjoyed the film a lot. I just felt that story at the end was a bit silly and unsatisfying for me.
I think they wanted to wrap it up nicely, and I think they also wanted the focus of the romance to be on Guy for quite a bit of the movie, and about how that would mean and how that would, and I think that's lovely, but it kind of it didn't end that way. So,
any other thoughts on that sort of love relationship, that the way it all works? It's almost like a love triangle, isn't it, really?
I didn't have a problem with it. I think you guys are being grumpy bears.
Oh, don't worry, we are. But I'm just like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it's really it was good. But it was a feel good movie, and we're not looking to learn anything profound. So I don't think any of us was disappointed at all. I think it was more just there were some bits that it's like, well, if you're going to nitpick, then there's a couple of things that could be improved. But honestly, I think it was really strong. So I think it was just nice.
I mean, what can't be faulted, I think, is the cast. I thought the cast was really good. And certain points of the film, it reminded me of another TV series, which we may come to in a second or later on in the podcast. But I did think there were some really clever uses of the game characters in this world. And it was really nice to see, as a video gamer myself, and most of us are gamers here, how they used those video game tropes within the world. Like, I really, really thought the glasses thing was very clever. So if you're a video gamer using the avatars in this game world, all those characters wearing glasses are real people, whereas NPCs aren't. And it's made it, I think, accessible to the non-gaming audience watching this, but also explain how a head-up display works. It's very, very clever, and it gave you that really cool moment when Guy first puts his glasses on and realises there's more to this than just going to the bank every day. And I did find myself watching it and just thinking of playing games like Grand Theft Auto and Assassin's Creed, these sort of open world games, and thinking, yes, I can see how this all fits in nicely. Alex, tell me, how did the film do?
Yeah, so this is interesting because basically all of the Hollywood studios were nervously looking for this and Fast and Furious to see how well they did, and they've kind of so he actually had quite a lot of room around it. It was Fast and Furious had come out, I think, a couple of weeks before this, so it actually did pretty well. I wouldn't say it was stellar. In the US it did 80 million, and in worldwide it's done 180 million. So it will more than cover its costs now, which is good, because there's quite a fair bit of costs for this because of all it's all CGI. But yeah, it's had what I'd say is like mixed success. But we've got to remember that this is a full cinema release, so you can't get it in streaming or anything like that. So, which annoyed me.
Well, it is a Disney film, Alex.
Sorry?
It is a Disney film, so it will come to Disney Plus eventually.
Yes. But not the same way as they did with the others.
No.
So.
I think they're experimenting still even now with how they release films, or, on the cinema viewing and the VOD viewing at the same time. And I mean, they have now confirmed, Bobby, that there's going to be a Free Guy sequel. So that's going to happen. Ryan Reynolds tweeted it's happening. So I can see why we didn't see the couple get together at the end of the film. Maybe they're leaving that for the next film. Who knows? Would you go and see a sequel? Bobby sort of screwed his face up when I said there's going to be a sequel.
Only because I winced because I thought about it immediately afterwards as well, when we were coming out of the theatre, and I was I knew that a sequel announcement wasn't going to surprise me, but I was really desperately hoping that there wouldn't be, because I just thought as a standalone thing it was just perfect. And you always have that danger with a sequel that it is just not going to hit that high. This was lightning in the bottle for me because, like Alex, I was a big fan of Ready Player One, the novel, and I really got into that book. And when I read books, I'm sure this is a normal thing, but I really go in there visually inside my head and create the world from what the authors have written on the page. And I was disappointed with Ready Player One, and I think Ready Player One should have been stretched out into they could have made 2 or 3 movies out of that book. They could have made it a trilogy instead. It needed more time. It just didn't get the time to breathe. I know they had some licensing issues as well, particularly with the whole War Games sequence from the book, and they had to swap it for Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And this wasn't that. This was just perfect. I mean, and also to the point where I'd taken my wife with me on the premise that we needed a fun night out. It was going to be a fun movie. Ryan Reynolds, Jodie Comer, what can go wrong? But based around the video game was the bit I was worried about, because Carolina's not a gamer. She's the only game that she's ever played is Guitar Hero, and maybe she's probably played Tetris at some point in Solitaire. But she's not a gaming person, and her only exposure to games these days, she's never seen me playing Grand Theft Auto, she's never seen me playing Spider-Man or anything else. She only ever sees me playing FIFA. And for all she knows, I'm watching Sky Sports and I'm watching a live game with a controller in my hand for some stupid reason. I actually have done that before. But she got it. She got all the references. She was able to work out that he was a non-playable character, that he was just in the background of the game. She got that the people with glasses were human beings who were sat behind screens in the real world playing. I mean, that was hilarious when they have Channing Tatum's character, like the big action avatar, and then the kid behind it is this kind of like overweight, lives in his mum's house still in the basement. Was he a streamer?
He's like a YouTuber?
Yeah. And
they have to shoehorn the YouTubers in, don't they? Get the youth demographic watching.
Obviously got quite a few issues. But I just, the whole thing, the way it was done was brilliant, and she was laughing all the way through, and she got all the references. And so, sorry, I know you just asked me a really simple question. I've just gone off again. Hey, I'm back, everybody. But yeah, okay, of course, yes, I would go and see Free Guy 2, but I just hope that it lives up to the heights of this one, because I really did love this film so much.
This is Disney with all its cash, and they have the expertise to draw from the Star Wars and Marvel. I think it's in safer hands than most film companies. But it's interesting because my wife is the same. She's not a gamer. She plays Overcooked, if that, a bit of Mario Kart. But she wanted to see this. She didn't go and see it in the end because we didn't get time, but she wanted to go and see it as well, which is quite a big thing for my wife wanting to go and watch a film about video games. I think it's because Ryan Reynolds is in the film. And that's why they had him romancing Jodie and not Keith for most of the film. So I understand that point. But yeah, okay. I think I would. I think I'd go and see it as well. Alex and Amy, would you? Would you go and see a sequel?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I did enjoy this one. The reason I was a bit like, what? Sequel is I don't know where they would take it, but maybe that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed everything that happened in this film. I love the silliness. I love the throwaway things. I love the little cameos. And I'd love to see that again.
I just have...
Yeah, I'll probably wait till it comes out. I'm sorry, Alex.
I just have like a perfect example to consider, which is Wreck-It Ralph 2.
I haven't seen that yet.
That's what it's. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but that's what it'll be like. It'll be.
It was okay, but not quite
exactly. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Wreck-It Ralph 2, but Wreck-It Ralph 1 is a much better one. It's a sequel, Bobby. Sequels are never quite live up to.
Actually, do you know what? That's why I haven't seen it yet, because I know I already know what you are saying to be true in my heart. So.
Yeah, it's okay. It's very funny. There's a lot to Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's perfectly watchable, but
there are lots of good examples of very strong trilogies out there, like Star Wars and Toy Story.
Back to the Future.
Well, maybe not Indiana Jones. The first three were good. So there's always that chance. We can always remain optimistic. And I'll say it again, I think Disney have that power. So I think Wreck-It Ralph 2 was Pixar, wasn't it? Not Disney.
I'll have to check.
Yeah.
I think Pixar had been bought by Disney by that point, so it was Disney Pixar.
Now we've got a whole raft of things that we have seen. So let's just sort of pick a few of these out. Now I'm quite. There's one here I've not heard of or don't really know about. Well, there's a couple actually I'd like to hear about. What is 911, Bobby?
Okay, so we'd run out of things to watch together. So we saw Rob Lowe's picture on 911 Lone Star. And so I was like, why don't we just give this... Because I was looking on Stars Play on the Disney Plus thing. And so I said to Caroline, let's just give this a go. And basically...
Is it a TV series or a film?
It's a TV series, sorry.
Right.
So it's basically about a firefighter captain who gets moved to Texas when the station house there, basically everyone loses their lives. So he goes to rebuild that station house from scratch. So we saw the first episode, and then I realised it was a spin-off of a show called 911. That was the main show, which stars Stella got her groove back. What's her name? The actress, she's amazing. I'll have to look it up.
Angela Bassett.
But anyway, Angela Bassett, that's it. So Angela Bassett is a sergeant within the LAPD, and she works with Station House 118 in Los Angeles, and that's the firefighters. And we're now on season 4.
It's the last season.
And literally, we only started watching this like 3 weeks ago. Wow. We rip through 4 or 5 episodes a day. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's got Jennifer Love Hewitt in it as well.
Jennifer Love Hewitt is now in it. Yeah, she came in season 2, towards the end of season 2. And the two shows do then have crossovers and stuff as well. So characters from 911 appear in Lone Star and vice versa. But we kind of have dropped the spin-off for now. So we're just working our way through. Actually, we've caught up because it's now on. We're now having to watch it on Sky because they've only got 3 episodes on the Disney Plus thing. But it's brilliant. It's got a lot of heart. It's it is a procedural show, but every episode is different and it's themed around certain things, and it's very hard to explain. But we absolutely love the show. It's got so much heart, and there's not a single episode that has gone by where we've both not been bawling our head off in tears at something that's happened or something between the characters or whatever. It's just with the pandemic and all the stuff that we've all been dealing with for the last 18 months, I just love shows like this that you just make you feel good and give you hope and make you feel better about the world. So yeah, it's brilliant. I recommend it.
Alex, what have you been watching that's tickled your fancy recently?
That's a good question. Lower Decks has been very good.
I've been watching that.
It's just gone on to season 2. I've not seen the latest one, but I've watched a good 2 or 3. So yeah, they are always funny, and I'm impressed at the quality of the storylines in them. Actually, for what is.
Have we talked about this before?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it previously for season 1, but yeah, it's
a Star Trek series.
Star Trek, yeah.
Aren't sure what it is.
So and I think it's Star Trek. Meets Futurama, basically. But it's really actually quite good. So I enjoy watching that. I took a chance on Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt on Prime. I was actually quite pleased with it. I thought it did really pretty well. I don't know what you thought of it. Did you see it?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's your standard sort of generic sci-fi action, but I, as a dad, enjoyed the relationship between Chris Pratt and his daughter in the film.
Yeah, which very important in the film, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a bit silly, but it's fun, and it's on something that it's essentially free. Although we do pay for Prime, we didn't have to go out and visit a cinema to watch it. I do wonder if a lot of content that we watch now, our opinion is very much changed by the way we watch things these days. Like in the olden days, any film you wanted to see, you'd either see it at the cinema or wait till it came out on one of 3 channels. So I wonder if we are just a little bit spoilt here. But no, I enjoyed it. I think Chris Pratt is a good presence on film. Have you seen it, Bobby?
No, I haven't, because we kind of saw reviews and I also had some Twitter followers telling me that it wasn't very good, so I didn't bother. But I'd like to give it a chance.
Yeah.
Just my other half might not watch it, so it might be one that I do on the iPad.
Yeah. I'd still watch it on a big screen. It's a good film, but it's not like, it's nothing standout. I mean, I would say it's like a poor man's Live, Die, Repeat, basically, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's you can't quite compete with that, but it is.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities between those. So yeah. It's definitely good to think about it as, if you liked that, then try Tomorrow War and see what you think.
Okay.
Amy, I have seen one particular thing on our list of things that you've watched I'm particularly keen to hear about, because my wife has been watching it as well, and that's Ghosts.
Yeah, so Ghosts, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is something written by a lot of the crew from the original Horrible Histories TV programme, which everybody loves. It's brilliant. And they've written this fantastic series. It's comedy about a couple who inherit a very large, big kind of Edwardian house in the countryside. However, it has got some current occupants in the faces of about 7 or 8 ghosts, or about 20 if you include the ones downstairs, who don't particularly want anyone else to be living there, but things happen, they kind of make friends, and so Ghosts kind of investigates the relationship between the 2 people who run the house and the others who are infuriated by the fact they're there, quite frankly, because they're sort of getting in the way. It's very funny, I think. It's also got some really touching moments in it as well. So obviously the ghosts at some point, spoilers, have passed away and died. So it through the course of the 3 series, it does go through how some of those things occurred. Some of them are very funny, some of them are a bit silly, and some of them a little bit sad, actually. So it's quite nice to see the goons from Horrible Histories playing in a slightly different way together.
It's all the cast from Horrible Histories actually playing characters in it as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. They all play at least 2 characters. There's their main character upstairs. They also all double up as the plague victims that live in the cellar, and one of them plays 2 characters, one of whom you don't see very much of. So that's the reason for doubling up. But I remember finding out when they were bringing out season 3 or series 3 that they'd have to be very careful filming it because obviously the COVID. So I'm aware that at some point in series 3, which I haven't finished yet, there is a point where they're all sitting around a dinner table, and that had to be filmed 6 or 7 times over because they'd have 2 of them come in and then they'd film the scene and then they'd go, and then everyone would clean everything, and then the next 2 members of the cast would come in and then they would do it. So you've got to admire the fact they stuck with it in order to get the big group shot.
I watched some of it over my wife's shoulder because she was watching it obsessively. It was all she would watch, and it looks amazing. It looked really funny, and I wished I watched it with her now. Although she's happy to rewatch it, so that's something I will catch. I think. Is it co-written by the cast as well?
Yes, very much. It's co-written, and then I think a different one will direct each different episode. I've just started our 10-year-old on it today. And it's the kind of series that I know for a fact she actually quite enjoyed it. She just doesn't want to admit it, so she doesn't look not cool. But she very much enjoyed it. So I'd say there's not F's and Jeffs, but I'm sure that wonderful website you mentioned,
Common Sense Media.
I'm sure they might have mention on there. I think it's fine for year 5, 6 upwards.
Yeah. I'm just going to have a quick. I can't remember. Hold on, what's it called? Hold on, I'm struggling to remember now. Oh yes, reminiscence. Right, that was obviously too believable. Everyone didn't get what I was trying to do there. Never mind.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Totally went
to
over
be
us.
forgetful. Yeah, sorry.
It was just too clever.
It was too
for
good.
us.
Sorry, folks. It's a bit late for us, isn't it? Really, for jokes like that. I went to see Reminiscence, which is the latest Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson film. They've done a couple of films, haven't they? They were together in the what was that thing about Barnum, The Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
They were together in that film. It's not done very well, Reminiscence, in the box office. Again, I'll say this now. I use Odeon Limitless, so I don't pay for the films. I go and just see what they're like. It's a good way of not worrying too much about paying for a film. So I wasn't too concerned if it's a bit dull or a bit of a letdown. I actually really enjoyed it. It's a film that has been written and directed by Lisa Joy. Now, Lisa Joy was part of the team that made Westworld, and I really enjoyed the Westworld series, although they did tend to sort of decline in quality towards the end. I did enjoy Westworld, the new modern version of it, and I enjoyed the twists and turns and the kind of intelligent. The way it doesn't insult your intelligence, it assumes the viewer can handle the sort of twists and loops in it. And so I went in expecting this to be a similar thing. It is a bit more digestible than Westworld in terms of its storyline. And I won't spoil it, obviously, if you haven't seen it, but it's basically based in Miami in the near future after the environment that we're currently struggling through at the moment has got worse, and the sea levels have risen. And so a lot of the cities in the States, the bottom floors of all the buildings are underwater. So a lot of the cities have become essentially a bit like boat villages
like
where
Venice.
people live on boats. Like Venice, but you kind of have the social demographic where the rich people live right in the centre, above sea level, and the poor live lower down. And the world's not in a good way, and so a lot of people want to remember the good old days when the world was better, and they go and see Hugh Jackman and Tandy Newton, who's his assistant, and his job is to basically they can play back people's memories, and they put them into a tank, and they essentially like virtual reality, but in their memories. And the main conceit is that you can see what's going on in their memories. They can record their memories and see what's going on. And I won't go any further than that. I'm sure you've seen some of the trailers where you can see how that's working, but it's kind of turns into a detective noir film, and I really like those sort of films. And almost procedural, trying to find out what's going on. Something's happened. And I really, really enjoyed the twists in the storyline. It's a very satisfying story. It looks amazing. I mean, again, it doesn't look like it's special effects. It looks really believable. Really good performances from Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson and Tandy Newton. And a really kind of thoughtful ending to it as well, because it's not what you expect. So I really, really enjoyed it. I really would recommend it. But I would say, if you're going to pay £15 to see a film, wait till it comes out on home viewing. It's definitely worth a watch. Have any of you seen it?
No, I'll give it a go.
No? Okay.
That sounds
It's good. It's worth watching. Maybe not at the cinema, but again, it doesn't insult your intelligence. It's a good, thoughtful film. Okay, now we have not just been watching films and TV. We've also been buying things for ourselves. We've all needed a lot of cheering up over the last few months. So I thought, in the same sort of theme as new features, that we'd also talk about things that we've bought recently that's kept us happy. We're going to start with Bobby, because I know that he's not the only person that's got one of these. Bobby, you bought something recently that's made you very happy. I've seen it a few times on Twitter already. Tell me about your new purchase.
I bought a Brompton Bicycle. And it wasn't really something that had been gestating for very long, like most of my nefarious plans to buy stuff that's expensive. But I've been saving up for another road bike, because I'm a road cyclist, and have not been able to spend that money because of COVID, loss of income, still doing up a house, all the rest of it. But I had to do something, and I've also just been I've just been thinking of ways I can kind of keep my exercise ticking along as well, and so I was thinking about getting a commuter bicycle, but then I'm kind of worried because bikes get stolen a lot in central London. I mean, you blink and literally your bike's gone. And then a friend of mine got a Brompton, and I thought, oh, a folding bike's a really good idea because you can just fold it up and take it with you. And so I went to the store in Covent Garden, and this was after watching about 500 YouTube videos about them. And I went in, the sales assistant was a bit useless, but I basically just sold myself, just talked around talking to myself, playing the role of salesperson and me, and walked out with one about 20 minutes later. And I love it. It's awesome. What a great piece of British engineering.
Because you've got one too, haven't you, Alex?
I have, yeah. I'm a long time Brompton owner. I've had one about 10 years now. And it
And why did you get yours?
when? Oh.
Why
did I get it? Oh, I
yours?
needed it for commuting because I was commuting in and out of London on the train. And so I needed a Brompton for that because you can't have a non-folding bike when you go on the mainline trains. So I had that, and it runs just as well as it used to 10 years ago. So it's really well made. And the other thing is I've converted it to become an electric, whereas you can buy an electric version of a Brompton, which is very expensive, but it is very good.
Quite recent, isn't it?
It's pretty recent. It's only a year old, too old. But yeah, so I converted mine, and so it's been through the wars now, but it rides brilliantly. So good purchase.
Bobby, tell me a bit more about it. Yours is red, isn't it?
No, it's orange.
Oh,
Bright
orange.
orange.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the store, I think they must have got a bit frustrated with me because I was like, so which colours have we got in stock in the gearing and stuff that I want? And they were like, there's a green one, there's a blue one, there's a red one, and I was like, I don't want the dark colours, right? Let's look at these bright ones, shiny. And but I kept looking at the orange one, and they were like, well, people don't like the orange because it stands out a bit too much. And then, I was like, that's kind of me, so I'll take the orange one then.
At least you'll be seen.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I get so many compliments. I get people riding up next to me, and other Brompton owners. There seems to be this kind of unspoken sort of community thing, where you'll kind of ride up to each other and sort of go, nice bike, and it's like, oh yeah, love yours as well, and then you just get into a little chit chat about it. On Sunday, I rode 20 miles on the thing, including a lot of uphill, just to see if I could. And
what are the gears like, Bobby?
Actually, pretty good. I think because compared to my road bike, has got 32 gears on it. It's got a 32 cassette. I don't know anything about them, but that means that it's got more gears to be able to go up hills. And the Brompton's only 6-speed, so it has like 1, 2, 3, and then you drop to minus, and then it's 1, 2, 3 again. And I was quite surprised. I went up Haverstock Hill, which is a really long hill that goes from Chalk Farm all the way up to Hampstead Ponds. And I managed it really. It wasn't too stressful or anything. I was really, really impressed.
So it's 3 gears to go up the hill and 3 gears to go down fast, essentially.
Probably.
Yeah.
Kind of. You find
Just shut your eyes going down fast.
if it's flat, you end up sticking in the top set. But when it's hilly, you drop down, and all of a sudden you've got extra gears that are really quite nice. They're quite well spaced and work quite nicely.
Sure.
So it's a really nicely designed bike.
And in terms of the folding and how that works, is it something you have to get used to initially, or is it quite quick and easy over time?
There are some quirks, because if you get a couple things wrong, you can end up damaging the frame, or like I've already got a tiny little crack on my front mud card, which I'm really peeved about. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear, because normally I do, and poor John has to peeved. Yeah, that's what I said, yes, not peed. I didn't pee myself when I did it. I might as well have done, though. But no, I mean, the folding's fine. Do you know what? I'd watched so many videos on YouTube because I was petrified about not being able to do it. And then in the store, the guy's like, okay, so yeah, we've got your bike in stock. You can take it with you. How do you want to pay? And I was like, whoa, slow down there, son. I'm getting old. I said, I need to make sure I can unfold and fold this. So he showed me, and then I did it, and I did it, and then I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it about a dozen times. This poor guy couldn't get rid of me. And then I walked out of there pretty confident. But now there's this Brompton challenge thing that's on Instagram with a lot of my followers, where they're videoing themselves and how quick can they fold the thing up or unfold it or whatever. So I'm gonna try that one. But I think I could probably do it in a pretty quick time now.
Okay.
You get used to it.
But stripping an
easy.
AK-47 now, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, exactly the same
You
thing.
want to film yourself like topless, all oiled up, right, in front of a desk with like a rack of weapons behind you, and then just unfold it and fold it like a sort of building a weapon.
Is this a video that I share just with you, John,
Yes.
not with the rest of the world?
Okay,
You
last
made
question.
it
Bobby, moving
weird.
on. Last question.
Yeah,
and again,
he
you can
always
give me-
does that though
Every
when I'm on. When I'm on,
You should
every
give me a-
single time I'm on.
Give me a range of prices here, but what does a Brompton? What's the range of prices they're offering for?
So they now start at roughly around 1,100 quid,
Yeah,
and they can go up to 3.5 grand.
wow.
So a lot of people were telling me. So mine was 1,400.
Yep.
And it's a 6-speed with the M handlebars, the medium kind of ones, and L, which means it comes with mudguard. And it was a little bit more because it came with the lights and it came with the orange paint job. A lot of people were telling me to go for the super light option. So my bike is a steel frame. It weighs 12 kilos. So to be fair, you don't want to be lugging it. Like I went to meet a friend last Saturday, and then we were going for dinner, and the restaurant was maybe a 10-minute walk away. And there's me thinking, we'll just walk side by side, and I'll lift the Brompton up and just carry it. Literally after a minute, I was like, dude, I can't do this. So I unfolded it, and Stranger Things style, like a kid from the 80s, I just kind of rode alongside him as we went up to the thing. But the super light version, I think it's about 1 or 2 kilos lighter.
It's more expensive, I presume.
But then it's like 700 quid more. And then to go electric, that's like another 1,000 to 1,500 quid.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, yeah, forget
Amy?
it.
You can get a My Rider 2021 7AH battery electric folding bike for £1,450 from Allen's e-bikes. So yeah, it's a good supplier, good shop. But yeah, so there are other options available, but the Brompton is historically by far a very superior.
It's a British company, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I should just say that I did look into other options. So I was looking at the Turn C8, I think it's called, which is another folding bike that has bigger wheels, and it's half the price. But what I realised with other non-Brompton folding bikes is when you fold them up, the gearing system is on the outside. Now, why is that significant? The gearing system has oil and grease, and you end up brushing the thing against you when you're trying to lug this thing around, and you don't want oil and grease getting on your suit or your dress or your chinos.
Suits, Bobby.
Not my suit, yeah, definitely not. So, whereas the Brompton, when you fold it up, all the gearing system goes on the inside, so you're protected from all of that. And so, in the end, that's why I just went for the Brompton. And also, I think they're just proven to be reliable, and also their service. Like I think even Alex, for his 11-year-old Brompton, he can still get parts for it. So you can just keep them going forever and ever.
Yeah,
am I right?
They are
Alex?
pretty good. I have one issue, but that's only because Evans are the only place that will service it officially. But any other bike place will as long as they can get the parts, they'll be able to service it. But it's just because Evans had an agreement with Brompton. But if you can get it into a place that services it, it's really good. I think the other thing is they patented their fold, so you won't find another bike that has that exact fold, which is why you see a lot of them folding on the actual main stem, and that's not ideal because it doesn't give as much rigidity. But anyway, we could talk for hours on this, so I'm going to stop. But that's a good point.
Maybe we should. Alex and I can do a separate episode,
Yeah.
like a bonus episode on Brompton.
I have been looking at the Van Moof electric bikes.
Ooh, okay, that's.
And I'm going to try and convince Becca, because my school doesn't do the bike to work scheme, but she does. So I might. I'm getting old now, and I don't want to drive to work anymore. So I am now cycling to work on a mountain bike, which is quite heavy, which is very good for fitness. But I think I want to bite the bullet and buy an electric bike that I can use all the time. And where I work and where I live is 5 miles apart, so it's ideal. But I don't see the need to drive anymore, really. But I'm going to get to Amy after this, because my new thing that I bought is to do with bikes. And I've already got a cycling bag I use, the roll-up ones. I can't remember what it's called now. It's quite a nice brand as well. But I bought a new one. I bought a messenger bag by a company called Timbuk2. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a Californian company, and the messenger bags are kind of they're designed to be over the shoulder satchels, but what's really cool about them, they come with a second strap which goes across your body diagonally to create like a backpack effect, and it allows you to carry your laptops and your books like a school satchel. But it's you can hear me holding it here, folks. But it's really, really nice. It's high, it's £150 one of these, but they've got layers, pockets, and some wonderful compartments inside. And if you are cycling all the time, you can actually kind of strap it together for small things, or it expands out for large things. So if you are cycling, the Timbuk2, Ortlieb is the other bag I have. Yes, Alex. Yeah, I've got an Ortlieb for bigger things, but I'm trying to find a way of cycling, because I don't carry much these days. I try and just do everything at work and not bring it back with me. So I wanted something that could hold a laptop, a water bottle. It's got internal water bottle pockets, and a few books, and maybe a spare change of clothes when it rains. But it's got this sort of patented rip stop fabric. They're completely waterproof, and it's really like premium quick release straps for the site. It's really, really good. I mean, it's the sort of thing you'd expect someone who goes out on his skateboard and his GoPro and all these. It's a very, very good bag. I can't recommend it enough, but it also fits really nicely around the body. So that's my new handbag. It's a messenger bag I go cycling with. But I thought I'd mention
Say,
that.
ladies and gentlemen, thank
happy.
you for being here for a historical first in all of podcasting history.
What's that?
A bloke banging on about a bloody bag.
Oh, there you go.
But it does look pretty cool.
By the way.
It does look really cool and useful. And all of that stuff is really important when you're cycling.
Yeah.
Because you don't want a bag that's slipping off all the time. You need stuff to put. Having a water bottle as well. When you're doing 5 miles each way, is it quite hilly, your commute to work,
yes.
John? Or
yes, it is. This is the thing. The thing is, it's all 1 to 25 gradient one way. So going back home is very nice because I can coast all the way. But getting there is quite hard work, which is why I'm thinking about an electric bike. And because I have problems, I have arthritis in my knees. So I want to get fitter, but I don't want to damage myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to have a separate podcast where we talk through this and possibly convert John to a Brompton. Because I think the thing is, you're describing the convenience of a bag, whereas one of the key things about the Brompton is it has a big clip at the front, and literally you can get a massive bag that just clunks in. I used to have one when I commuted a lot, and they're brilliant. But we'll save the Brompton appreciation episode for another time. But
I think a cycling themed podcast will be fun.
Yeah, I'd like that.
We could even turn it into a video at some point as well. Amy, what's made you happy? One of your recent purchases. Tell me about it.
Well, I recently levelled up. I recently levelled up to 40. And yay, thank you. And Alex was very kind and he got me some lovely things. And I did mention that I used to love playing Guitar Hero. And a long time ago, we did buy a more recent version that had very different buttons, and they changed the way that you play it in such a way that I didn't enjoy playing it anymore.
That's Guitar Hero
so we
Live.
actually sold that, I think. Yeah, I think we actually sold that in the end. but I really missed original Guitar Hero, and lo and behold, Guitar Hero arrived, and we were very excited indeed. And Alex went to put it on, and he did what he normally does and went, okay, all right, okay, all right, okay, that's fine, I'll sort it. And I had no idea what was going on. It turns out that the Guitar Hero that we had bought was not compatible with the current Xbox. So he only went and found me an original Xbox.
Xbox 360.
Wowzers.
Because
Xbox 360. So that I could play it.
That's it.
Which was really, really kind. So now I can play Guitar Hero, and then I remembered why I stopped playing it, because I have a really weak wrist, and it hurt my wrist. Yay!
So you need to
but
buy
at least
some
I
wrist
have.
straps, like a support.
Yeah.
Your wrist.
Yeah, well, I've got plenty of them. I just need to put them on. This is how my body's just broken, John. Between my foot and my wrist, there's not much left. But yeah, Guitar Hero, really, really enjoying it. It's great. It's good fun. And our daughter started getting into it as well. So that's been a nice family purchase.
Oh, that's nice. Isn't that interesting that something that's that old in terms of technology is still bringing pleasure to people?
I wish I still had Guitar Hero 3. That was my first Guitar Hero game, and the one with Slash. And I love that game. I really, really wish I kept my Xbox 360, I think it would have been, and or maybe I had it on the PS3. I can't remember, one of the two. But I really wish I kept it. I absolutely love that game. The problem with Guitar Hero Live, I was okay with that, but they stopped supporting it. So all of a sudden you couldn't download any more content, and you were just restricted to the sort of 32 odd songs that were on the disc. You couldn't actually access any content outside of the game.
Yeah, the servers.
And that was meant to be the whole point of Guitar Hero Live.
The servers were switched off in 2018. They switched them off for everything as well. So the same's true for any Guitar Hero. It's a bit of a shame, really, because you think to yourself, honestly, how much money was it costing for them to just keep it running? And it wouldn't have cost them much to actually just let it continue.
Or they could have just charged a very cheap, like a sub fee.
Well, they do. Yeah, there was actually a package that was like X amount a month, and you could just download any songs that you liked.
Like Let's Dance.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's a precursor to that, really. But yeah, the challenge was that all the licenses that they had were quite time sensitive, and I think that was the problem. Is it was becoming more work to do the licenses than it was for, because they say, oh yeah, we'd like to run this for 2 or 3 years. Oh, okay. And then it was still getting use, and they were like, well, can we extend it for another 5 years? And they're like, well, sure, but you got to pay for it. And I think that was the problem.
I think what we need is a video of Amy playing it to one of the songs, but then we overlay the original music so she looks like she's actually playing the actual song.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I did once really impress my nephew. This is how much I was into Guitar Hero first time round. I once impressed him by playing whatever the Tenacious D song was.
Oh yeah.
With my eyes shut and getting, I think it was like 95%.
That's pretty good.
Wow. Yeah, see, I abused that game so much that I got 100% score, like a perfect score on Knights of Sidonia by Muse.
Ooh.
And that song is ridiculous.
I remember seeing someone do something similar at one of the game shows. Like whichever was the hardest song, he aced it like live in front of it was inside a boxing ring whilst he was doing it. It was amazing to watch.
See, now, it's one thing to ace a song.
Used to be videos of people playing it, and that, like, they would start bleeding halfway through.
Yeah, but you get it's one thing to ace a song, but it's the ultimate is when someone not only aces it, but they perform it.
Yeah.
So I was doing all the knee sliding and holding the guitar up above my head and all that stuff as well. I mean, it took.
We need to get the band together.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, rock band. There we go.
Boom.
Now, very, very finally, because I'm interested to hear about this. I know Alex has bought himself something nice as well. Alex, tell me about your new watch.
So I have bought a Samsung Watch 4. This is the watch.
Is it a Galaxy watch?
Yeah, Samsung Galaxy Watch.
He's currently holding it up to the camera for our listeners. It looks like a watch.
Turn it on, press it on.
It looks like a watch,
it's definitely a watch.
And it has a face on it, and that's that's about it, really. I mean, you can't really see very much because it keeps.
Does it have Mickey Mouse? Can you do a Mickey Mouse watch?
Yeah, probably. It's probably got stuff like that. It keeps asking me for my PIN because I've got Pay installed on it, so it's sort of checking I'm not someone else. So the interesting is I've had smartwatches for quite a long time, ever since the Pebble, and I recently had Garmin watches, a Garmin Vivo Active, which is a very good fitness watch that does some smart stuff. It's not massively smart, but it also has a LCD display, so it works really well in bright light. So you can, when you're going running, you can easily see your running stats. And Garmin's more of a running brand than anything else, so it's really good. But one of the things I realised is that I just wasn't using it for most of the health functions. So I wanted something that got me a bit closer to my steps and how I'm doing on things like my weight and eating and fitness and general things like that. So so I have been looking for a new one, and these are only just come out this month, and they basically are running the new Wear OS 3, which is the latest version of Wear OS with Google. Samsung haven't run Wear for a long time. They had their own operating system called Tizen, and it was okay and actually run pretty well. It was just it didn't have the range of apps that the Google Wear watches do. And so when they said Samsung and Google were working together, that was quite interesting, because Samsung generally make good hardware, and then they always have an issue around the software. So with them taking on Google Wear and having a new version of it, I was quite pleased by that. And the battery life's okay. It's very responsive. The screen's lovely. It does GPS and all that kind of stuff. It can do, this one does body composition measurements, so you can see, if you don't already have
That's
scales
BMI
that do
stuff.
it, what it will do is it will say your muscle mass is this, and your your bone mass is this, and so then you can track that over time. It's also got an ECG and I don't think it does blood pressure, but it does loads of things. There's even an option to listen to your snoring, which I've not been brave enough to switch on. But we'll.
Can you make phone calls from it?
You can on the LTE version, but I didn't get that because it's a little bit extra, but also I really don't need it. You can have a phone with me, so that's fine. But yeah, you can get an LTE version as well, and it's honestly it's pretty good. So yeah, I think it was a worthwhile upgrade.
Do you think, as a non-Apple owner, it's the best option for Android and Pixel phone owners if they're not going to be choosing an Apple Watch?
Well, yeah, at the moment, yes, because the thing is, I would have happily had an Apple Watch, but Apple won't let me. So because I don't have an Apple iPhone. So if you're an Android user, then this is very good. It works best if you're a Samsung user. If you're not a Samsung user, you'll be a little bit annoyed because at the moment you have to install Samsung Health and Samsung Pay, for example. And it's not that you can't install other things, it's just they're not quite tied in as nicely yet. But Samsung have done a pretty good deal. So basically, Samsung have got Wear OS 3 for 12 months. So if you want to see this on another Wear OS watch, you're going to have to wait until sort of pretty much this time, 2022, before you can get it. Everyone's a bit miffed by that, but I think Samsung just they're savvy at their deals, so they were just like, yeah, we'll do it for you, but we'll sell a lot of watches, but you're going to have to give us something, and that's what they got. So really good.
Oh, well, keep us updated, because obviously both Bobby and I are very much in the Apple ecosystem, but I'm always keeping my eye out for other good tech if I ever change my mind. We've had quite a varied podcast today. We've talked about a lot of different things. I think there's one thing we need to talk about before we say goodbye that I'd like to just to our listeners to be aware of, and we have mentioned it in the past, but there is another podcast that you can listen to as well. And I'm going through my backlog of this podcast because I like to listen to it whilst I'm doing the washing up. And that is a podcast called Tailoring Talk by one Roberta Revilla. Now, I thought it'd be worth mentioning this because we have talked about Bromptons and suits and lifestyle choices we've been making. And I think you just go over to Bobby now to talk about his podcast very briefly. I have got to the Masterchef podcast. I'm a little bit behind, but I have been working my way through the Tempest number 8 that I ordered after listening to this podcast, which is amazing. If you've got expensive tastes, although to be fair, it was very reasonably priced, but it felt special. And it's kind of a chorizo, chili, fennel sort of paste that comes really spreadable. Really, really good with brie. I've discovered. Roberto, let's go into Roberto persona. Tell me a bit about your podcast.
It's a discussion podcast. It originally started off as Tailoring Tech Talk, which anyone who does start listening, thank you for joining. And you'll be confused because initial episodes were called Tailoring Tech Talk, and it was meant to be a segment, bit of tailoring, talk about tech for 20 minutes, and then have a guest on for 20 minutes. And it didn't turn out that way. It just turned into a conversation with my guest for an hour or longer. And basically, I try to find people who have had some ups and downs in life, because we don't want things to be all perfect because they're just not. And being that I started this at the tail end of this pandemic, it was really trying to have conversations with people to give other people listening hope and inspiration and advice and so on. So we've had quite a variety of guests. So John just mentioned the episode with Ruth Baker, who won MasterChef back in 2010. We've had a GP whose actual side hustle is building home cinemas for people. We've had an orthodontist. We've had a sound engineer. My next guest, who I'm recording with tomorrow, he does big bespoke glass projects for football stadiums and things like that.
Wow.
And I'm just talking to an illustrator to bring this back to our podcast, Play Paul's Turn, who has drawn art for a lot of Dark Horse Comics titles. So I'm just talking to him at the moment about being a guest on as well. So it's basically a conversation podcast with creators. Is probably the best way I can describe it at the moment, and it's ever evolving.
What I like about it is got the interviewees are very diverse. You've got Blake from the States with Blue State. Was it Blue State Denim?
Blue Delta Jeans, yeah.
Blue Delta Jeans, that's it. He was really good. It was really interesting. It's not a podcast. I have to say, Bobby, if I go and search for podcasts, I'd actually choose to listen to if I did a look, because most of mine are gaming and tech. But I've been kind of pleasantly surprised by the different guests on it. And it paints quite a nice picture of London as well, because a lot of your guests, I guess, live near the area of London. But obviously, you have more sort of international guests as well. There's definitely a sort of a premiere, like a prestige level of the products that I mentioned on it. And the next one I'm going to listen to is about the weddings and the bamboo linen. My daughter can't use normal linen; she gets allergies, and so she's been using different vegetable-based linens to remove that. I'm guessing that's what it's about. It's different materials, cotton. She has to use bamboo linen on her sheets. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, pop on over to Tailoring Tech. Look for it on your podcast player. Listen to the dulcet tones of Roberto.
Thank you so much. I will just say as well, I'm also talking to the guy who did the sound remixing and engineering for Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to have him on as a guest. I don't know if it will be for the current season. It might be later in the year. Sure. But I have been exchanging emails with him, and I am trying to get him on at some point. He's obviously got a very busy schedule because he's working on, other stuff at the moment, like the new Stranger Things 4 and so on.
Yeah.
But as soon as I can get into his schedule, I will have him on. So I'd love anyone who's listening who's a fan of that film. Obviously, you guys, I need to speak
We've
to
talked
Mark
about
as
it,
well.
haven't we talked about
Yeah,
it.
we absolutely we have. But anyone who's got any questions, and also I just want to say now for my Dark Horse Comics guy, anything you guys want me to ask or whatever, then feel free to let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to future episodes, Roberto, or Bobby, as we know him here. Okay, so very, very quickly, let's just remind people of where they can find us if they want to contact us for any reason. On Twitter, I am at John P.R. Evans. Alex is at Alex Hansford. Amy is at Awakey, that's Awakey. And then Bobby is at It's Bobby Revilla. We can also get our podcast direct from the website at playpauseturn.show, and we're also on Twitter at playpauseturn. This has been Play Pause Turn, and thank you for listening.